Hello, welcome to my second deck check video. This one's going to be a little different. First off, no face cam, and second off, I'm probably going to do all the deck checks at once. This is a sort of supplementary video instead of the 4 separate videos I said earlier. Clogs up the channel less, lets me just sort of do it. The 4 decks that I haven't talked about yet were the Warrior, the Hunter, the Warlock, and the Mage. The deck I have talked about was the Shaman. You'll see that in the previous video. Or the one before that, if I don't show my my unpacking, which I did another one of, straight from my gold. Rather fun. But yeah, let's start with the Mage. This is the most unique. This is the deck I used from rank 15 to 5 last season, which was a lot of fun. We have notable on the list, and I might have actually gotten part of the list wrong. I'm not sure. I've recently been experimenting with other mages, and so I had to take this down. But it's back here. And this should be accurate. So, Ice Lance. Main use is late game burn. Secondary use is spot freeze. If you need to hold something back and it's a lot of damage, you can use that on that, but be careful. The general rule with Freeze Mage is you want to hold on to 1 Ice Lance, 1 Frostbolt, 1 Fireball, and 1 Pyroblast, with more being held on to in more necessary matchup, and with more healing matchups, and less for less. Frostbolt, late game burn, delay, / removal if necessary. Similar thing to Ice Lance. Blood Mage Thalnos, usually you play this for the early game cycle. If you're playing against the control matchup though, save this for the burn. Loot Hoarder, this is just a really efficient minion for what you're trying to do. You're trying to cycle. You need to cycle, and if they have an incredibly slow start, you can actually start pressuring with this. Most of the time you're just going to trade with it though. Similar logic behind Mad Scientist. You prioritize getting Mad Scientist over Loot Hoarder. Even though you like drawing cards, getting Secrets out is really nice. So the main use of this is just the present / draw, though the secondary use of it is this combined with a removal spell can give you an ice block when you're in a bad situation. And that could win you the game. Arcane Intellect, standard draw. Frost Nova, standard freeze. Ice Barrier, a sort of pseudo Frost Nova. You use this when they have 8 or less damage on the field, because it basically does the same thing. Oh crap, I know what I did wrong. Forgot to talk about my favorite card, and it wasn't even in the list for a second. Okay, I know how I fucked it up. Here we are. Doomsayer. A main use of this is board clear, quite obviously, but the secondary use of this is tempo swinging. And the point of the board clear is so that you'd have a lot of spare time to just do whatever you want. But you can use this on an empty board or on a board that can't kill it, just to make them unable to play anything else, or be forced to answer it without having to spend a freeze. And that's really nice. Ice Block, buy you turns when you're winning. Even with the existence of Loatheb, it is possible to win through it simply because of how many ice blocks you can use, namely 2. Acolyte of Pain. You want to prioritize this over Arcane Intellect in the early game. You can tend to get 1 to 2 draws and influence the board a bit. Cone of Cold. This is your sort of intermediary between Blizzard and Frost Nova. With some spell power, it basically is Blizzard, and without that, it's basically only a slightly more expensive Frost Nova. And for that reason, it's fairly powerful. Fireball. Much like Frostbolt and Ice Lance, it's primarily face burn and secondarily spot removal. Usually face burn, though. Blizzard. Clear. It's primarily clear and secondarily freeze. You mostly use this when you can clear. Flame Strike's only purpose is clear, though. So, turn 6 Blizzard, turn 7 Flame Strike is a common combo. The key to Freeze Mage, I'll say before I get to Alexstrasza, is to use your most expensive cards first, and your fastest cards last. Tends to be the theme. There's a lot of times where you could spend a Frost Nova on a board, but you'd rather spend a Blizzard. Not because a Blizzard does more, but because it's more expensive, and you want to save Frost Nova for when you can afford it doing other things. Freeze Mage is probably one of the most mana-intensive decks. Alexstrasza. Don't do any face burn until you've done Alexstrasza. It's one of the most important cards in this deck. And lastly, Pyroblast, your post-Alexstrasza extra burn. A lot of people run Archmage Antonidas instead of it. This makes your coin draws much better, and this makes your Ice Lances and Frostbolts significantly stronger because they translate to an extra 12 damage. But the weakness of that is that there's no mirror image in this deck, and there's no yeah, it's actually the main thing. There's no mirror image in the deck, and there's a lot of fast decks around, so you tend to want to finish the game with Pyroblast. I used this deck to basically crush my way through a bunch of priests that didn't run a lot of healing, and through the, what are they called? Through the bot shamans. Bot shamans are much less popular now, so you don't really have to worry about them. This deck is terrible against Hunter, and I would definitely not recommend it at the moment. So yeah. I mean, it would be strong if Flare wasn't in the game, but what can you do? So this was a deck that's probably very strong in tournaments, actually is very strong in tournaments according to the results, but is generally fairly easy to beat on ladder. The next deck is my Control Warrior. I've changed this a lot for this season as well, but this is the version I was using before. You run 4 hard removals to execute 2 Shield Slam. Use them liberally in the fast matchups and conservatively in the slow matchups, is the basic theme. Fiery War Axe, you want this on turn 2 against everyone except Handlock, and if you queue into a Warlock and you throw away Fiery War Axe, I can't justify that no matter what you know about them. Cleave, rather consistent, 2 mana, deal 4 damage across 2 targets. I mean, it's deal 2 damage to 2 different targets, so that's 4 damage total for 2 mana, which tends to be really efficient. Slam gives you some extra draw, gives you some extra board control. Slam, Fire War X lets you deal with a lot of early game threats. Slam combined with your later minions helps you deal with stuff. Slam adds consistency, and it's a really good card for it. Armorsmith, really good 2-drop, really good board control-y thing. Against the fast matchups, this tends to slow their board down a bit. Against the slow matchups, you tend to actually want to save it if it's actually almost exclusively if it's warrior control. If you're into a warrior control, you tend to want to save your Armorsmiths. Mostly because you don't want to play anything for the first few turns against warrior control. Cruel Taskmaster gives you, it's kind of like Slam in that it lets you finish stuff off, but it's also a proc for Execute, also like Slam. It's basically Slam the minion, but it can let stuff trade better as well. So yeah, Slam. Wow. Cruel Taskmaster is Slam the minion. I never thought of it that way. Iron Recall, there's a lot of good silence targets in the meta right now, so having a silence is very efficient. You tend to want to use this after you've attacked something with the Death Spite, but the 2 mana for the silence is really good because you can Ragnaros silence or Grom silence or Sylvanas silence and Axe and just do a bunch of things. Unstable Ghoul, this is a current meta choice. There's a lot of zoos, there's a lot of hunters, and there's a lot of reasons to use the 1 damage. So Unstable Ghoul tends to be really, really powerful, but it's still niche for its effect. It does what you want it to do, but you don't want it to do what it does too often. It can be a very dead draw, it can be a very inefficient minion. It sucks in control, or at least it can. Shield block, draw a card, and heal. Any card that says draw a card and heal tends to be absurdly good. Initiative Lord makes you pick between the 2, but both options are good for the card. And Lay on Hands is really good in its own right. Acolyte of Pain, really powerful. This is particularly good in warrior control simply because you have a lot of ways to proc it. It can be proc by Cruel Taskmaster, by Unstable Ghoul. It getting damaged will also buff the armor with your Armorsmith, and it gets buffed by Deathspite, so there's a lot of ways to get the draw out of it. Speaking of which, Deathspite, probably the most powerful weapon in the game next to Eagle Hornbow. 4 damage on the first go and 5 damage on the second is really good right now because there's a lot of 5 damage minion. So much damage in fact because I'm gonna get this right one day. So much damage in fact that my current version of Warrior Control runs an Arcanite Reaper along with the other weapons. Insane, right? Senjin, some good consistent early mid-game minion. You need some help in your mid-game as Control Warrior, even with all the extra cards. Brawl, some people run 2 Brawls. But 1 Brawl is good enough. You tend to want to play it when their board is marginally better than yours, not counting their best minion, is the math for Brawl. Sometimes you want to play it just to kill one of their 2 dudes. Sometimes you want to gamble. That's your worst situation, but it can work. Loethep, just a good solid minion, helps you maintain board control. You tend to want to play this either to dodge lethal or to control the board. Sludge Belcher, you want to play on turn 5. It's really good on turn 5. That's about all there is to say about it. It's a strong, solid taunt. It synergizes really well with your Armorsmith. It synergizes really well with a bunch of other things. It's very durable. There aren't many Black Knights at the moment. Cairn. Cairn is notable not because of him, but because of the card other people have been running in his place. Hogger. Yes, thank you, flavor text. Hogger is very unique right now because there's a lot of times where you can force them to have only one minion, and Hogger's really good when they only have one minion and no good removal in hand. He's also much better in the faster matchups, but Corn, as he's called by Artosis, is a very solid choice. Gotta love Corn Bloodhoof. Sylvanas, very good in Warrior, you can kill her with Shield Slam, and she's just really good for controlling the board. Grommash, really good at... decent at controlling the board, I should say, but he's your main finisher in control. He's less of a needed finishing influence in this deck because you don't run Alexstrasza. Ragnaros, consistent damage dealer, not that many BGHs. That's all you need to know. Ysera. Game-ending power is the main thing behind Ysera. Now, are all the legendaries in this deck necessary at all? No. Cairn can be replaced with Sunwalker. Sylvanas can be replaced with Sunwalker, Archer Commander, or Boulder Fist Ogre. You can run more removal in the deck. The late game can be replaced for the most part. Just running big, powerful cards. They don't have to be legendary. They don't have to be legendary at all. You make the deck faster by running cheaper cards, of course, by definition. But you can get a very similar effect. So this is the list I was running for my Warrior. I think I might have been running a Harrison Jones as well. Unsure. This is my Warlock, which I used from... No, this is not my Warlock, which I used from rank 6 to 3. Excuse me. I'm gonna go rebuild it. This I was using at the moment to test how powerful Zoo felt. Answer, not very strong. Priest is very powerful. Also, I'm just not a fan of Zoo. So I can actually go card by card here. My new version runs 2 Shadow Flames and 1 Hellfire. This is my old version of the deck. Otherwise, it's identical. The double Ancient Watcher. This is very clumsy video making, but that's okay. It's fun. We're all having good fun here. Double Sunfear Protector. Double Earthen Ring. Double Defender of Argus. Twilight Drake. Oh my god, what? Oh, twice. Nice. Loatheb. Face. What else do we need? Giant. Four more cards. Slew. And two more? What else do we need? Oh man. This is very clumsy of me. Forgive me. Yeah. What else do we need? Iron Beak Owl, not Harvest Golem. Iron Beak Owl. Okay. So yeah, this is the handlock I was running. This is the handlock I ran from rank 6 to 3-ish. It was very consistent. It often went on win streaks even against Hunter. So the list is really strong. It's just a very hard list to mulligan for. So far, if the matchup's fast, keep it. Mortal Coil, if the matchup's fast, keep it. Ancient Watcher, if the matchup is fast, keep it. If you are on coin, keep it. Iron Beak Owl, if the matchup's fast, keep it. Sunfear Protector, if the matchup is fast, keep it. Earthen Ring Farseer, if the matchup is fast or you're on coin, keep it. Hellfire, keep 1. If that much. If the matchup is fast. Shadow Flame, keep 1 against Miracle. But those rules apply regardless of how many of these you run in the deck. Defender of Argus, don't keep. Twilight Drake, if the matchup is slow, keep it. Faceless, don't keep. Loatheb, don't keep. Except if you're absolutely sure they're a Freeze Mage. Sludge Belcher, if your hand is terrible, consider it, but otherwise no. Siphon Soul, if the matchup is slow, keep it. No, don't keep it. Jiraxxus, if the matchup is Priest, keep it. Mountain Giant, if the matchup is slow, keep it. Molten Giant, if the matchup is fast, keep it. Now, purpose of each of these cards. Soulfire is the best single target removal for its cost in the game. There's very little question about that, next to Hunter's Mark. You'll notice every single time I say the best card, it's next to a Hunter card. That's not a coincidence. Now, Soulfire's power comes with the fact that most of your cards are versatile. The only unversatile, unreplaceable card in your hand at any given point is going to be Jiraxxus. or Alexstrasza if you're on the Alexstrasza version. Both are equally potent. The Alexstrasza version can end the game faster though, and the Jiraxis version is more fun because of the emotes. That's about it. Soulfire is spot removal. It handles Animal Companion. It handles a bunch of Shaman stuff. When I say mulliganing for fast decks, Shaman is a fast deck for Handlock. A lot of people think it's a slow deck. No, it's a fast deck. Mortal Coil. Really good at handling the myriad of Hunter Beasts. The Hunter 1/1 stuffs, or the 2/1s. Really good at finishing off Zoo minions. Really good at a lot of stuff. Really good at complementing damage you've done with your minions. Ancient Watcher. This is basically a synergy card. You're already running Silence because of the amount of silence in the meta right now. You're already running Taunt Givers because of the 6 taunt-worthy cards you're running. And you're already running Powerful Minion Murder for value. So why not complement all of those and run 2 Ancient Watchers? It works very well in Handlock, and it's very good against fast decks. Iron Beak Owl. If you have an Ancient Watcher, obviously save it for that, but usually use this on an Nerubian Egg or a Sylvanas or a wide variety of silence targets. I don't need to tell you why Iron Beak Owl is really good. Sunfear Protector. Usually you want to play this on one of your taunts. If you suspect they might have Black Knight, put this on not your taunts. But for the most part, it's just a solid taunt giver, and that's why you run it in the deck for the battle cry. Earthring Farseer, you run this for the body and the ability, obviously. Not obviously, surprisingly. This can really put a damper in fast decks, and it'll let you trade efficiently against slow decks. Get stuff out of execute range versus warrior and such. Hellfire. Now, those who have watched my stream have seen me repeatedly kill with Hellfire, but for the most part, even on stream, it's just there to clear the board. It's one of the best board clear cards in the game. I'm trying to find the proper comparison. It's 1 less damage on Consecrate for 1 less damage on Flame Strike for 3 less mana. Shadow Flame. This is a very versatile card, and my current version of the list does this. But besides that, Shadow Flame is a very strong card against aggro because it forces them conceptually to have to continually clear your board because they have to play around Shadow Flame. And it's functionally really strong because you can get 4 mana, clear 8 points of damage easily. It works really well with Jiraxis, unlike Hellfire. It works really well in general. Defender of Argus. Some people only run 1. It's a clunkier Sunfear Protector, but the bonus it gives to the Ancient Watcher and the fact that you can play it on turn 4 after going turn 2 Ancient Watcher, turn 3 Earthen Ring in a fast matchup is really, really good. Twilight Drake. This is almost always a 4/7 or better in this deck because your plays are tap, tap, Twilight Drake. So Twilight Drake's really good in the deck. Play it when you're fairly certain they don't have a silence out. Be careful in the silency matchups. Faceless Manipulator. You have a lot of really good Faceless targets. Your opponents might have a lot of really good Faceless targets. No reason not to run 1 Faceless. I really want to run 2, but I'm not sure how. I know how to conceptually. You put the second Faceless in the deck and you're done. But I don't know how to fit it in. Loatheb. Really good in this deck. It's a board position deck. You're trying to improve the board each turn, and being able to stop them influencing your board with spells for a turn is really, really good. Sludge Belcher. It's a really high quality taunt. It also fills the necessary 5 slot for shamans, for warlocks. They used to miss it, now they have it with Sludge Belcher. Siphon Soul. I run 2, it heals you and it removes a minion, and that's really good in every matchup. It's expensive though, which is the reason to consider something else. Jiraxis. This card wins games. Period. You get to Jiraxis and you're not instantly dead and you've probably won. If the matchup is remotely winnable, Jiraxis will win it. Is the way to phrase that. If the matchup has like a 20% or higher, it turns to like 80% or higher once you've played Jiraxis. Mountain Giant is a really solid card. I don't really need to say much. You tap, play this on turn 4. Generally hold on to cards, as you do with Handlock, to be able to play this out faster. You do need to know when to not be able to play it. If you can ever play it against aggro, it's really hard to, so be careful. But if you can, you generally should, assuming you can do at least one other thing that turn. like a Mortal Coil or an Efficient Trade or a Soulfire or, thank heavens, a Taunt. Molten Giant, this is your recovery against facial aggression. Tap naturally gets you closer to it. Jiraxis makes it impossible to play these, nearly. But against aggressive classes and against board presence, they'll tend to try to hold back a few attacks just to make Molten Giant more expensive. And that's really good for you. And the deck I used eventually to get to rank 1 is this. I am not a fan of Hunter, but I do recognize its strengths. So, Hunter's Mark. Some people run 2. The deck doesn't have enough draw to justify that, so I'm running 1. It's the strongest spot removal in the game. Flare. Lots of secrets around, lots of hunters around, and 1 mana draw card is never weak. So I run 2. 2 Leper Gnomes. You want to get pressure to their face, and you want to buff Undertaker. Undertaker, this 1-drop is ridiculous. Buffs off Leper Gnome, Web Spinner, Haunted Creeper, Loot Hoarder, and Sludge Belcher, and Savannah Highmane. So there are a lot of easy ways to buff this. You mulligan very aggressively for these 3 cards, and for these 6 cards, and you can almost usually get 1. Almost always get 1. I run 3 different types of secrets. I apparently don't run Mad Scientist, what? Oh, I was wondering why the list seemed awkward. Okay. I'm gonna go slip Mad Scientist in there, excusez-moi. Mad Scientist, and another. There we go. The Explosive Trap and the other thing were something I was just running to see what happens. This is the main list I think I was running, but yeah. Double Freezing Trap, best bounce in the game, but that's not saying much, there isn't a lot of bounce. Best tempo swing in the game is probably more accurate. When they only have 1 minion and you play a Freezing Trap, they don't have any minions, because that minion can't attack. That minion can barely do anything. If it has a cool effect, then yeah, it's pretty strong, but otherwise it's eh. That's the power of Freezing Trap. It also buffs your Eaglehorn Bow. Snake Trap. This has synergy with Leok, and with Hunter's Mark, and with Houndmaster, but for the most part, it's just there for the consistent beasts and to make them worry about a secret. Haunted Creeper. Beast with a Death Rattle. That's perfect for this deck. The Death Rattle buffs the Undertaker. The Beastness allows Houndmaster to work really well, and for Kill Command to work. I'll get to Kill Command. Loot Hoarder. Card draw, Death Rattle. It's what you need. The deck doesn't have a lot of card draw. Mad Scientist and Flare are sort of pseudo card draw, and Loot Hoarder is consistent card draw. Well, I mean, Flare is card draw, but sometimes you hold it. Mad Scientist. 2 mana, 2/2 body, bring out a secret. You play this on turn 2. You play Bow on turn 3. You get a secret on turn 4. Bow ends up getting 3 to 4 charges easily. And then you've got more than 1 bow. Bow, you mostly use for damage to the face, in conjunction with your hero power, and just beat them down. Kill Command. You very rarely use this for removal. For the most part, this is just more face damage. 2 Kill Commands means they only have 20 health. Your hero power means they generally only have 12 to 16 health. Your bow means they generally only have 3 to 5 health, eventually, depending on how you want to do the math. They really don't have a lot of health to play with against you. Houndmaster, buff a beast. Houndmaster is a 6/5 for 4, which is insane stats. It has to be on an inefficient minion, because the beast tag generally means a minion is worse, but this isn't always the case. Loatheb keeps your board stable for a turn, stops any sort of super combos from them. Sludge Belcher stops any burst based on minion attacks, and just dominates board control. Savannah Highmane, this is how you win against control matchups. Hit them a few times with Savannah Highmane and they can't win. They tend to have a lot of trouble killing Savannah Highmane as well because of the threat of the 2 hyenas, both of which can be buffed by the Houndmaster. So much so that I'm tempted to run a second Houndmaster, but we'll see. So yeah, those are the other deck lists I used. I had a lot of fun last season. Thank you for watching. More videos to come.